Aaron Rodgers sat down for a 2.5 hour interview, and he had a lot to say, including some inspiring messages and some powerful comments on his comeback with the New York Jets. We talk about that next here on the show.
Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rodgers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Hey, what's poppin', everybody? Paul Leston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcast. I am Paul Leston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. We're live on 3 different places, the Heavy on Jets Facebook page, shout out to Heavy, youtube.com/BoyGreen25, and Twitter as well. Twitter @BoyGreen25. Yes, so in case you missed it, Aaron Rodgers, an interview with him dropped I believe it was yesterday, and it was a 2.5 hour interview. I mean, they covered some topics, and some in football, some not. But the most powerful stuff to me was the stuff about the football, and some of it not so much. I guess I'll kind of get into it. Aaron Rodgers talked about how he was heartbroken about September 11th in the locker room, thinking his career was over, and that's how he was going to go out. And he was also able, over the last bunch of months, obviously, playing 4 plays, going out for the season, and then just having, as he described it, this ego death of all of a sudden he's removed from the picture. The Jets have to keep doing their story. And he talked about all the powerful stuff that occurred, the beauty of Hard Knocks and being in New Jersey and talking to Jet fans and energy and momentum and a gratefulness. But the most powerful stuff was that he promised that the Phoenix will rise from the ashes and the Jets and himself will be getting a better version of it. And wow. It was just inspiring. But at the same time, we're dealing with unprecedented territory here. Now, of course, we know Vinny blew out his Achilles in the late 90s. Marino blew out his Achilles. You've had quarterbacks that have suffered Achilles injuries. That's not the unprecedented part. The unprecedented part is the Jets are putting their chips in the middle of the table for Rodgers to make this magical comeback at the age of 40. He will turn 41 in December of this season, so a couple months into the season, he will turn 41. And we have not seen MVP Aaron Rodgers in 2 years. He had the back-to-back MVPs, of course, for 2 years. And then he had the off year, of course, with Green Bay, where, he was dealing with an injury to his throwing hand the whole season, the team all around him, everything that happened. And then we had this Achilles injury that just occurred this past season. So we haven't seen Rodgers in a while. So ultimately, the line in the sand is this. You either believe or you don't believe. You either believe he can do it or you don't believe he can do it. And the fact of the matter is the Jets have put together in front of him a top 10 offensive line in football, which seemed hard to believe that would have been possible even prior to the draft, which, by the way, we're not even including that into the equation yet. That's a part of the exam for the New York Jets, is that draft isn't factored in. Tyron Smith, free agent addition. John Simpson, free agent addition. Joe Tippmann, youngster developing. AVT, youngster developing. And then right tackle Morgan Moses via trade. That's your starting 5. And then you have the draft, of course, as well, which I think is going to add some more offensive line. I'd be surprised if the Jets didn't add a couple offensive linemen, quite frankly. They have 7 picks in the upcoming 2024 NFL draft, which, by the way, what's today? Tuesday, Wednesday? What is today? Today is Wednesday. We have the draft in 2.5 weeks. It's a little less than that. It's 15 days. 15 days away. The first round of the NFL draft is April 25th. Is that coming up? Paul A. Esden Sr. Injury to throwing hand. I thought he was injury-free for 5 years. He powered through injuries. That's something certain players do. Maybe my father, who chimes in on Facebook, may not know that with his Cowboys, but battling through injury is there with Aaron Rodgers. But that's okay, Father. I know you wouldn't understand that. But yes, Aaron Rodgers powered through injuries, and maybe he probably shouldn't have. To your point, maybe I couldn't read that stat of appearing in 81 of 82 games over a 5-year period before coming to the Jets, because I think the narrative would be a lot different about Aaron Rodgers if he just had whatever surgery, whatever he needed on that throwing hand, and didn't have the down year, which, by the way, again, I want to make clear that this quote-unquote down year that Aaron Rodgers had, here are his numbers, again, during this quote off year. He had a 64.6% completion percentage, 3,600 yards, 26 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. That's a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, or, a little better than 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio with a 91.1 QBR. Now, it wasn't this run of seasons that he had from 2011 to 2021 where he didn't throw double-digit interceptions over the course of that decade. But he still had 26 touchdown passes, which, as we mentioned, would be pretty high in Jets history. And by the way, if these are the numbers, let's get copy-paste from 2022. The Jets are in the playoffs with the quarterback putting up these numbers. 64% completion percentage, 3,700 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Yeah, the Jets go to the playoffs with those numbers. They will be going to the playoffs. Now, here's the thing. Because even if we get that Rodgers of, what would that be, 2022, the Jets are going to be in a great spot. Because last year, with all due respect, and again, if you say that, you can then say anything. The Jets had the 32nd or 33rd quarterback room in the NFL, and I'm aware there's only 32 teams. The Jets were absolutely god-awful at the quarterback position last year. Tim Boyle, Trevor Siemian, Zach Wilson, and 4 plays of Aaron Rodgers. The Jets were absolutely god-awful. Absolutely god-awful there. Danny, that was 2 years ago. That was not last season for the loss to the Lions at home with the playoffs on the line. That was 2 years ago. That was not the Rodgers season. That was the season before we got Rodgers, but I appreciate you, Danny, chiming in on Twitter. And unless you're talking about the Packers, but, with the Danny in real life, which also would have been 2 years ago as well. Both of those happened 2 seasons ago, which is fine. You can evaluate that any way you want. I'm not going to worry about one regular season game where something happened against the Lions, whether it was the Jets or the Packers for that matter, because he's got a Super Bowl ring on his finger. And some people will say, he should have had more. Well, Dan Marino should have had more. There's a lot of quarterbacks I could bring up that should have had more than they had, but they don't. At least he has one. Drew Brees only had one. There's plenty of quarterbacks who only got one. Not too shabby. Get me to the playoffs, and with this team, this construct, I like our chances. And you got 7 teams making the playoffs now. I'm very comfortable with where Rodgers is at. And again, I reiterate that the Jets had the 32nd quarterback room in the NFL last year. So even if Rodgers was 16 and a half, an average starter, and I'm being modest, if he's an average starter, the Jets are going to the playoffs, and God knows what they're going to do. All they had to do was score 2 touchdowns a game at a minimum, and they were winning games. But they couldn't do that on a consistent basis, and thus that put them in the hole. The Jets had plenty of games last year that they could have, should have, would have won, but probably they were capped off no matter what because of the quarterback position. So even if they squeeze the right things, I see people talking to the chat about the Chiefs game. Sure, Jets got screwed in that one. Penalties, either penalties that weren't called or made up penalties that took away takeaways, like Michael Carter II intercepting Patrick Mahomes and a phantom penalty was thrown. You're like, what the? Patrick Mahomes has 30 years in the pocket. Holding call, not call, where Jermaine Johnson's being mugged and his wallet stolen. You have that big scramble from Mahomes. So, yeah, there's plenty of games that the Jets left on the docket. But, again, their ceiling was probably always capped without having Aaron Rodgers. But now, with Aaron Rodgers, with the offensive line they've been able to build with the receivers. You have Garrett Wilson. You have Mike Williams. You have a very solid tight end room. I think it's out. I like Tyler Conklin a lot. He's a very solid tight end. Jeremy Ruckert's a complete dart, though. I don't know what that kid is. You could say upside, I guess, but let's kind of see. We got to see it. Breece Hall had the second most yards from scrimmage of any player in the AFC. Number 1 was Tyreek Hill. Number 2 was Breece Hall. And he was coming off a torn ACL, and he appeared in all 17 games. I like him to be better. Garrett Wilson, I like him to be better with above crappy quarterback play. He's going to be better. The injuries, of course, are the question. Mike Williams coming off a torn ACL. Jets say he has a quote-unquote long way to go. We'll see. Is that just press conference talk? Is that real? TBD? We got to see. Jets defense only got better. You lose Bryce Huff, who had 10 sacks last year. You get one of the most dominant pass rushers in the NFL, who, over the last 4 years, 50-plus sacks. 4th best in the league. Not too shabby. Defense got better. Offense got better. And you look at the rest of the division, New England looks like a dumpster fire. And they're rebuilding. Dolphins have lost all those pieces. Andrew Van Ginkel, Christian Wilkins. I mean, they lost some guys. Xavier Howard. I mean, that defense, a grenade was thrown into that Miami Dolphins defensive room. Yikes. Still got some offense. But the defense, yikes. And then Buffalo. No Stephon Diggs. A lot of defenders lost. They're going to have to replace a lot of those with young guys. Can they hit on their draft picks? Easier said than done. We'll see. They don't have a wide receiver 1. Don't have a wide receiver 2. Curtis Samuel, gadget guy. The rest of the room, Khalil Shakir, random piece. Who's the other guy? Mac Hollins, random piece. Well, can they be a volume shooter and they don't need a Steph Curry catching passes? Maybe. We'll see. There's a lot of TBD there. But here's what's not TBD. The division's up for grabs, baby. The division is up for grabs. NY Jets FL asks, did the Bills reach their ceiling? Maybe. Yeah, and I see Durrell says on Twitter, no Gabe Davis, no Stephon Diggs. When they had Stephon Diggs, people were like, okay, who's going to be wide receiver 2? And we're like, who the hell is going to be wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2? A lot of questions. Yep. The Josh Allen salary cap had jumped up. Lawrence, don't forget that Allen Lazard was his number 1 receiver because of injuries to his teammates. Yeah, so Lazard should be better. I don't really have many expectations whatsoever for Lazard, but he should be better, I would think. NC says, part of the Board Green Superfan Club, appreciate you. Like our defense, but they have to create more turnovers, need to blitz more. I don't think they need to blitz more. I'm going to push back on that, to be honest. I think what's going to happen naturally is with Aaron Rodgers, you're playing at a minimum closer games and perhaps with leads. And if you play with leads, this defense that the Jets have that they trot out, well, they're able to get after the passer because they know they're passing the football. I've given this stat out a couple of times this week. The Jets had the 3rd most rushing attempts against them last year. Why? What do you mean, why? Zach Wilson was a quarterback. They're like, if we just keep playing conservative, Zach Wilson will shoot himself in the foot and cost us. That was a good strategy. It worked. They ran the ball because they didn't want to pass the ball. Jets have arguably the best secondary in the league. Why would you pass the football? So they ran the ball down the Jets' throats. So I think the numbers are a little warped. When you look at some of the numbers, go, oh, well, boy, that Jets run defense looks a little lackluster. Certainly it did change when Al Woods went down, and now the Jets are hoping to replace it with a guy in Likey Fotu and the rest of this defensive line to kind of step up to the plate. But I do believe the Jets defense is going to be playing with more leads next year, which i.e. means more sacks. They were still top 10 in the league in sacks, but I think all those numbers are going to jump because when someone's down, all of a sudden, you smell blood in the water. It's a bunch of hyenas gathering around a wounded gazelle. When you see that you're down 10, you're like, there's 8 minutes left. These bastards got to start throwing the ball so you can start jumping those routes. When it's an out and up, when there's a little bit of a quick slant, you can kind of jump that and hope your safeties cover your ass on the other side. Now all of a sudden, turnovers increase. Sacks increase, pressures increase. That is the secret sauce to unlocking a new level to this Jets defense. And to be honest, we haven't seen it. The quarterback play has been abysmal here since Robert Saleh took over. If Aaron Rodgers is anything but abysmal, we're going to see a new level here. That's exciting to me. So the comments from Aaron Rodgers are inspiring. They're powerful. And quite frankly, I'm ready to run through a brick wall for the guy. Because when you've seen Aaron Rodgers face adversity in his career, he's met it with, oh, okay, let me show you. And things have happened. Like Jordan Love being drafted. Tom Brady getting the Jimmy Garoppolo draft pick and being forced to move up and step up to a new play. Go, oh, hell no. Aaron Rodgers, oh, hell no. How did he respond to Jordan Love? Back-to-back MVPs. Most valuable player. Back-to-back years as soon as Jordan Love was drafted. Coincidence? I think not. So now, everyone's doubting Rodgers, saying it's over. The Jets stink. You stink. It doesn't matter. Over the hill. All these things. The one Super Bowl ring, which, by the way, I mean, that just seems like a, very odd thing. But nonetheless, that's what's inspiring me. That's what's firing me up here on a Wednesday on April 10th, 2+ weeks out from the NFL draft. That is what's tickling my fancy, is these words from Rodgers and what it can mean for this team and the new level all of these players can reach. And the other thing that gives me confidence is I hope to the great football gods that Aaron Rodgers is able to stay healthy for obvious reasons. But if he isn't, Tyrod Taylor is a nice backup to have. One of the better backups in the league, you could say. Experienced guy who can step in and hold down the fort. Now, every injury isn't season ending. That's what people bring up all the time. Oh, boy, Jets can't win the Super Bowl with Tyrod Taylor. How many people can win the Super Bowl with their backup quarterback? Get back to me when you come up with that list. But what I'd like to go to is this. Most injuries aren't season ending. Every once in a while, your quarterback get nicked up. Ankle sprain, whatever. He's out for 3 or 4 games. The Jets can't tank those 3 or 4 games. That's going to be the difference between this record and that record. Making the playoffs, not making the playoffs. Winning the division and not winning the division. Again, hopefully Aaron Rodgers plays 17 friggin' games. We're talking about a different story. But even if you have to, plan for a potential of missing some games, I like Tyrod Taylor getting in there. And Phil says on here on YouTube, Tyrod's more likely to get injured than Rodgers. Yeah, we've seen a lot of injuries from Tyrod Taylor. There's no question. And that's part of the process. There's no doubt about it. But to be honest with you, a lot of those injuries have happened against the Jets. So the Jets' kryptonite is now putting themselves in a different level here, which is exciting. So, again, there's criticisms can be made about a lot of things. For Tyrod, his durability, the rib injuries, and all the things. Again, I've seen a lot of those injuries happen against the Jets, not a lot of other teams. So the fact of the matter is that this team has a much higher floor with Tyrod Taylor. It's a dramatic upgrade. There's just no other way to put it over what the Jets quarterback room was last year. Dramatic upgrade. An absolutely dramatic upgrade. And I've seen a lot of you guys saying either before the show started or throughout the show, like, oh, what's everything Rodgers said? Again, it's a 2.5-hour interview. It's the I Can Fly podcast, if you'd like. I'm halfway through a story for Heavy, so if you stay tuned on the Heavy on Jets, feel free to check out that story. I've got a lot of quotes in the story from the 2.5-hour interview if you don't have the time to watch the full thing. So I'll be including some of those. I was halfway through the story. I was working on it last night, working on it this morning, and didn't finish it before the show started. I would have put it in the YouTube description. So we're going to keep working on that, but I'll have that story out here shortly. We should have it out, somewhere in the next hour-ish. I should be able to have that story finished. But yeah, it's a really interesting interview to me. I mean, they talk about some, I don't want to call it weird. That's rude. Like, just non-life stuff. So if that sort of stuff interests you. But the thing that stood out to me the most as a football guy is obviously the football stuff and his comeback and rising from the ashes and falling back in love with football. That's another one I'll get to. And I know you guys want to call in and everything else. I see those. I just want to say that that it seemed like Aaron Rodgers was falling out of love with football in Green Bay. And then he said after getting traded from the Jets, the new atmosphere, the new energy, the new team around him, that he said, quote, he fell back in love with the game of football and called it this beautiful thing. And he was revved up by the fans, and the fans were revved up by him. It was some compelling stuff. There's just no other way to put it. Very compelling, very interesting. And I like the fact that it's like, here's the other thing. When you have a devastating injury, and again, I'm not Aaron Rodgers, but I blew out my ACL. I blew out my ACL, and that was really tough to get from because I had never been injured in my life, like seriously injured. And for a blown ACL and being, I'm looking at my recliner over there in the living room, and I had to keep my leg in a certain way for months and rehab and all this stuff. It's just deflating. Rodgers called it an ego death. I guess that's one way to put it for someone like Aaron Rodgers. Not for me. That's not the term I would use, but it's just deflating. It's like you all those doubts creep in of like, can I do this again? Because it was a martial arts injury for me, but can I do this again? Is it over? Can I play with my daughter? Can I run around with her ever again? Because again, when the injury happened, I was trying to walk and my leg kept giving out as I dragged myself to the hospital. And I'm telling you, that's some you face some demons during that time with just you. People give you your well wishes and things, but then there's silence, darkness, if I may. And you're just waiting there for months with nothing but you and your thoughts. And you're just sitting there and you're battling through all that. I can only imagine for a player of Aaron Rodgers' caliber going through that same stuff. So he battled a lot of demons over the last bunch of months, but credit to him that he's been able to kind of find the silver lining. As he said, his life has changed dramatically over the last 6 months, and that wouldn't have happened unless he got injured. Again, he said that he never wanted to get injured, obviously, and that, the injury is the injury. He doesn't have the power to change that or make it that it never happened. But the powerful stuff was about this comeback and the love of the game and fighting back and wanting it back and not just riding off into the sunset saying, hey, this is how my story's going to end. He's like, I'll tell you when my story's over. And there is this fiery passion inside him that he wants to play for years, and he wants to give it all back to the New York Jets. It's, it's tremendous stuff. Tremendous stuff. So I highly recommend watching the full thing if you have the time. But if you don't have the time, like I said, I'll have a story out in about an hour with as many quotes as I can from the story, from the interview. And here's the other thing. And then, like I said, I'll open up the calls and your questions and things of that nature. I know that there was a palpable excitement last year for good reason, obviously. Aaron Rodgers, a 4-time NFL MVP, was dropped on the Jets, and the low-hanging fruit was, boy, if the Jets just had a quarterback, they could go places. You insert that into whatever thing the Jets have, they will go places. And the injury happens, and there's a lot of pessimistic Jet fans in our audience that are like, here we go again, same old Jets, this, that, or the other, And then he's out for the season, and then Rodgers even admitted, he's like, boy, is my career over? And then how many jokes would there have been if Aaron Rodgers' career was all 4 plays, and then the Jets are screwed with the contract and everything else? But, man, I'm going to be honest. I am just as excited as I was last year right now for the season. And the season's months away, of course. The draft is coming up in a couple weeks. There's a lot of excitement. The Jets' new jerseys are coming out in a couple days. The Beast from Dane Brugler just dropped today. I'm going to dive into that later. You got Dane Brugler's The Athletic. You got the jersey reveal. You got the draft. You got a lot of things coming up. And the season's, a decent bit away, obviously. But I'm just as fired up now for this team. Rodgers getting out there and doing it again. And I'm excited. Some of you, I hear that the excitement won't ever be the same for you guys. I won't say that for me. I'm going to be excited. I'm fired up right now about it, to be honest with you. I wish the season started tomorrow, to be blunt. So let's freaking go. All right, let me go through some random comments here. Keep them coming, everybody. YouTube Super Chat guarantees you get your comment answered here on the show, so feel free to utilize that. Again, we'll open up the phone lines here in just a little bit. I'll try to answer a couple of those calls that are coming in. And also, as you will see with certain members here that are a part of the Boy Green Superfan Club, you'll see this little logo by their name, like Phil here on the screen. that means he is part of the Boy Green Superfan Club, which is a YouTube membership. If you're watching on YouTube, to the 400 plus people in the room right now, hit that little money sign on YouTube and join the Boy Green Superfan Club. It's a way to support the show and take it to another level. The free way, of course, is by liking the video and hitting subscribe. But if you want to take it to another level, you want to be the teacher's pet, you want to support the brand, feel free to do so. And that'd be awesome. We have 20 plus members in the Boy Green Superfan Club. So appreciate you guys taking the extra heat. Okay, let's see. Phil says this on YouTube. Just look at past teams like the Colts with Peyton, the Broncos with Elway. They were past their prime and shells of themselves, but won Super Bowls because of great defense. Any similarities? I wouldn't call the Colts that, because what was that? 2006, 2007? Wasn't Manning drafted like 98, 99? So that was like 7, 8, 9 years into his career. So I wouldn't call past his prime. That one I wouldn't. But if you want to talk about the Broncos one, sure. 2015. Peyton was running on fumes, and you had Von Miller and that defense, and they had the Brock Osweiler randomly come in for a bunch of those games. So, like, I wouldn't call the Colts in that category, but Broncos certainly fit that category. Any similarities? Sure, absolutely. Can Hassan Reddick be the Broncos' Von Miller? We'll see. Big ask, but he's pretty good. Yeah, Randall Cobb could have caught that Hail Mary against the New England Patriots in the first game. It was right there. I mean, I don't know how I would have reacted, because the game was so ugly. And to get that at the end and then win would have been like, my brain would have exploded. But hey, we're gonna have a lot of opportunities. Yeah, no Gabe Davis. He's gone. My father chimes in on Facebook. Key to the season for the Jets is preparing for injury news. Backup offensive lineman, compliment to Hall. Yeah, I think a compliment to Hall is important. We will see. Again, I'm leaning more so veteran free agent, but the Jets' history says they'll draft a running back. Joe Douglas has done it every year that he's been running the shop. So, yeah, I want another swing tackle. We talked about that with Woody yesterday. I want a swing tackle, veteran swing tackle. David Bakhtiari and Donovan Smith would do the job. And also, I want a veteran backup center. We don't have one right now. So, Connor McGovern, come on down. Paul Aiston Sr. again, a solid playmaker compliment. Can you say Brock Bowers? I saw Sauce Gardner on social media. He seems to be among the Bowser. I always do that. I will do that if the Jets draft him. I will be calling him Bowser all the time. Hopefully that sticks. Bowers boy. He is. He looks like a fan of Brock Bowers. Interesting. Let's go to Shadow Realm here. Bills fans seem nervous about their O-line, as they should. Mitch Morse was like, to me, that's the big loss for the Bills that like not a lot of people were talking about. That was their center. That was the rock. That was the new evolution after they brought him over. I'm pretty sure it's from Kansas City. Mitch Morse, they dump him. He goes to Jacksonville. A brand new center. That one's big. So they bring back Dion. Sure, they have that. They Connor McGovern. They're sliding people around, but the center position, the heartbeat of the offensive line. As someone who had back-to-back centers of Nick Mangold and Kevin Mawai for 18 years, I think Jet fans know better than anybody that elite center play can be the difference in a lot of different respects. So for the Bills to like throw a grenade on Mitch Morse for all the cap savings, that's the big one for me. Where, again, you have the Pillsbury Doughboy, poke him in the belly button. All of a sudden, the air comes out of the balloon, baby. So Mitch Morse, that's a big one on the offensive line. The Bills were one of the lucky teams. Think about this. So we know these stats in Jets land that the Jets had 13 different offensive line combinations last year. And you're like, oh, good Lord, how can you operate with that? I was watching a Sunday night football game at some point during the season. It was late, and I believe it continued, that the Bills were one of like 3 or 4 teams that had their offensive line fully intact like the whole year. And I was like, you lucky bastards. We had 13 different combinations, and you had the same friggin' line for the whole year? That must be nice. Talk to me about that. The Bengals were another one. There are a few teams that had that. And now all of a sudden, continuity ain't there anymore, baby. So we'll see how they deal with that. But Mitch Morse is a big one not a lot of people are talking about. I think that's a big loss for Buffalo. Saw should have some picks this year. Gosh, I hope so. Again, I keep going back. I was there with my father in Dallas. I had the angle. It was me. It was Sauce. It was Dak. And when Dak threw it, I got out of my seat and went, oh my God. Like I see the path. You see the pick before it happens. I'm like, holy friggin' crap. If Sauce grabs us, he's going to the house. Pick 6, and it would have flipped the game. It was very important. I'm pretty sure the Cowboys on that drive ended up scoring a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. So completely changed the game, and the Jets had their doors blown off. But that interception, which would have been a pick 6, which I believe would have given them the lead or put it very close, like it was right there, baby, hit Sauce right in the midst. And I saw it when Dak threw it. I'm like, no way, he's not going to throw that. Oh my God, he's throwing it. And then Sauce dropped it. And I'm just like, son of a. And I said a lot of things I can't say on this show. I hear Sauce continues to talk about it. He's really beat up about it. Like, oh, geez, I dropped that. But, boy, that's one he should have had. So hopefully that just motivates him a lot. Dakota, love the show. Boy Green, you could kick the wall down. Hey, do whatever you have to do to get to the AFC East. It's been a long time since the Jets has had a AFC East title. 2002, to be specific. Lawrence on YouTube says he could end up leading the league in passing. He's never had a first-round receiver to throw to. Now he could potentially have 3 on the field at the same time. That's true. He's obviously got Garrett. Mike Williams was a top 10 pick, and whoever else the Jets potentially had. I don't know about lead the league. That's a tongue twister. In passing, I'm not sure we'll get there because I think Breece Hall is going to get the rock, and he's going to get the rock a lot. But I think he could shatter Jets records because, not that they are impossible feats. I mean, we have one 4,000-yard passer in our history. That was Joe Namath, and he was the first one to ever do it. He did it in a 14-game season, so and it's not that hard now. What's math on that? Like 235? Let me see. How many passing yards do you need for a 4,000-yard season divided by 17? That's like 235. Yeah, it's exactly 235. So there you go. There's the math on it. That's it, people. How many passing yards does Aaron Rodgers need to average a game to get to 4,000 yards? It's right there. 235 passing yards per game, which is nothing, obviously. So if he gets 235, he's getting to 4,000, which would then obviously break the Joe Namath record. So he could break that record. There's the Fitzpatrick 30-touchdown record. Like, oh yeah, he can shatter. He has the ability because the Jets haven't had great quarterback history. He can shatter all the Jets single-season records with a basic Aaron Rodgers season. And if he goes buck wild, like, again, I have Aaron Rodgers stats in front of me. Let's see. Let's go to, like, one of his MVP years. Here are the 2 years. He had 48 touchdowns, 5 picks, and then 37 touchdowns, 4 picks. If he has either of those, he is shattering the record books with the New York Jets. We've never had that kind of quarterback play. We have one quarterback that's thrown 30 touchdowns in the season. We've never had a quarterback throw 40 touchdowns in the season. And by the way, as I look through Aaron Rodgers' history, 2011, 45 touchdowns. 2016, 40 touchdowns. 2020, 48 touchdowns. So, like, he's had 3 seasons of 40-plus passing touchdowns. The Jets have never had one of those. So, yeah. I mean, he has a chance to do something crazy. But even if he's basic Rodgers, he's breaking Jets single-season records we haven't seen in a long time. Okay, again, it's the I Can Fly pod. You guys can look it up on YouTube, and you can find it. They also have an Instagram that has stuff as well. You guys can check that out. Yeah, it's a 2.5-hour interview, but quite a show. Gilbert, Boy Green, best show ever. Yeah, it's a fun show. And I thought, once I heard a little bit of that interview yesterday, I'm like, come on, baby. Let's talk some Aaron Rodgers. We haven't gotten a chance to do that. Yes, I'm seeing people asking about call-ins. Yes, I will do that here in a moment. Just trying to catch up on the comment section. Danny in real life. What if he plays Aaron Rodgers all or most of the season? They don't make the playoffs. 8-9, 9-8, no postseason. Danny, you may think this is arrogant, but I'm going to be honest. I don't think there's any way if Aaron Rodgers plays all or most of the season, let's call it at least 14 games. That seems like a fair number. If Aaron Rodgers plays 14 games, there is no way the Jets don't make the playoffs or they have that record you say. And again, maybe it's me being arrogant, but this Jets defense, all the playmakers around them, like, is it possible that Aaron Rodgers is just over the hill? Maybe, but boy, I don't know. What I saw in training camp and preseason, and again, it's only flashes. It's hard to base a lot of it on that. But man, I don't think so. I don't think we're getting an average Aaron Rodgers. I feel like Aaron Rodgers would walk away from the game before we saw an average Aaron Rodgers. Like Barry Sanders, 10 years in the league, all of them were awesome, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to leave at the top of my game. Aaron Rodgers doesn't feel like the guy that's going to be Brett Favre kicking and screaming. He's got a lot of other interests off the field, and I think as soon as he believes he doesn't have it and he can't compete at his level, I think he's walking away. I don't think it's going to be a Brett Favre situation, kicking and screaming and, people going, yeah, you should probably retire, pal. I think he will retire when he's ready. And thus, to the point of, I don't think we're getting that kind of season with a healthy Aaron Rodgers with this Jets team. I think the Jets have one of the best rosters in football, and we haven't even had the draft yet. So if Aaron Rodgers plays all or most of the season, and you have one of the best rosters in football, the Jets were 7-10 last year with the worst quarterback play in football. Just think about that for a moment. Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, Trevor Siemian, Aaron Rodgers for 4 snaps. They were 7-10. What? Let me check the playoffs from last year. What the hell did the Steelers have? What were the Steelers? Playoffs 2023 NFL. Okay. Let me just see what the Steelers record was last year, or who anybody was. Let me just see if this has it in here. Let's see if I can see records on here. Let me see if it gives me what I'm looking for. Oh, it does. Okay, cool. It's okay. Yeah. So the Steelers were 10-7. They were the 7 seed in the NFL playoffs this past year. In your point, 8-9, 9-8 with the full season. Oh man, they're making the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers playing most of the season. That's how I feel about it. Boy Green, would you say mind-altering topics? He did talk about some ayahuasca. He did talk about some of that. Phil says it's still the honeymoon stage, Rodgers. I don't think so. I think a lot of people are like no longer happy about it and have different expectations, but not me. As far as I'm concerned, I'm still in it. Let's go to Eddie Diaz on Facebook. I'm excited again. I live in Rochester, New York. I'm in Bills territory. Can't wait to shut up all the haters around here when we take over the AFC East this year. I heard so much talk from everyone out there last year. I'm ready to give it back. Oh, I am 1,000%. And that's another one with the Bills thing. The Jets beat the Bills with Zach Wilson 2 out of the last 4 times they've played in the last 2 years. What is Aaron Rodgers going to do? Let's see. Again, I'm going to be honest. The opponent I want, there's a lot of sexy opponents. We're going to get the schedule. That'll be another big one, a big mile marker in the NFL offseason. We get that in May. Give me the Buffalo Bills. You know what? Like after a UFC fight or something, they're like, I'm cashing in my rematch. Like Roman Reigns or Tribal Chief could say, like, hey, Cody Rhodes, let's run it back. We'll see, whatever that story is. But like, that's what I'm saying as the Jets. And we won that game. And I'm still saying, hey, Bills, let's run that back. Monday Night Football, Buffalo Bills, New York Jets. Let's kick off the 2024 season with the AFC East crown on the line. Let's roll. That's what I want to do. I want to face that same ass team, and I want to roll. We'll see if that ends up being the game. They got Texans, they got Vikings, they got all kinds of fun 49ers, other divisional games. There's a lot of fun games the Jets have on the schedule. That's what I want. Let's run it back, baby. Let's run it back. Who is the third quarterback? Zach Wilson's the third quarterback right now, but we'll see. We'll be draft. Small chance it's a veteran. I think it's probably going to be a young guy in the draft, so keep an eye out for that. Let's see. That's fair. Kyle Gruber says, once they put W's in the win-loss column, I'll be excited. I say nothing until this team starts to win. Fair enough. But as a guy who does content creation, that's impossible. But also, so that's in itself. And secondly, I enjoy the hubbub. FPP says Jets versus Packers in New Orleans. Sign me the hell up. That'd be great. Sluggo, take Penix at 10, use 2025 first and 2024 4, trade back into the years first and take best OT. If you could tell me who that OT is, maybe. But boy, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. Shadow Realm, pound in the like button, baby. Yes, please do. Phil, Peyton had the neck surgery. It wasn't the same after, although I don't think that's true either, because didn't he have his crazy-ass season after the injury, which had to be because he was playing for the Denver Broncos. What was that season? That was the 55. Okay, yeah, let me pull this up. Yeah, Peyton Manning had a wild season after the neck injury, so I actually pushed back on not the same. Yeah, where was... Yeah, 2 seasons. So he missed the season in 2011 because of injury. His next season was great. 37 touchdowns, 11 picks. That's pretty good. You say, like, not the same. That 37 touchdown season was the most he'd had since 2004. And then he followed it up with 55 touchdowns, the single season record in 2013. So he definitely had it. So, but obviously things fell apart very quickly. So he had 2013, like that crazy ass season. They lost to Seattle in that Super Bowl, and he was the NFL MVP again. And then 2 years later, the Super Bowl year, 9 touchdowns, 17 picks. So like they were awful, or he was awful more specifically. So he actually was the same after that. I would push back on that, or better, quite frankly, according to the numbers. Everyone arguing about Bowers. We have Danny, our Buffalo Bills resident. Morse hurts, but 4 or 5 O-line return, outstanding rookie right guard, and signing of Lyle Collins. Hey man, we haven't seen Lyle Collins in a long time, a very, very long time. So I'd chill on the Lyle Collins stuff probably. And by the way, Matthias, you said you can't see us on Facebook again. The Heavy on Jets Facebook page is where I stream live on Boy Green Daily. So Heavy on Jets, that's where all our articles are, memes, graphics, jokes, all that sort of stuff. So make sure you guys like that Facebook page and share it out. That's where all my articles, you can find them. Yes, and Sluggo says our offensive line has to play nasty this year, which is what I'm hoping John Simpson brings a little bit of Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses. I think a lot of that is going to be an interesting sauce for the rest of the offensive line. Yes. Michael Murphy says he's excited about the season to come, as am I, pal. Lauren says if the run's working, he's going to have a chance for play action bombs. That's the best part. That's the best part, baby. Nick, what are the Vegas odds for Rodgers staying healthy? I'm thinking optimistic. I have no idea, but probably the odds would say that he is unlikely to play all 17. That's a lot of games. Let me see. Let me pull up that one too. Aaron Rodgers stats. Let me just see in the 17 season era. Although he only missed the one for COVID, so I guess 2021 started the 17 game era, so that was a COVID game that he missed. But he appeared in all 17 in 2022, and then now. So in the 17 game era, he appeared in whatever that is. What was that? 33 of 34 the first 2 years, and then the Achilles injury with the Jets. So, but I would imagine the odds say he's not going to stay healthy for the most part. But that's also why you got Tyrod Taylor to fill in, hopefully, that small gap. Love listening to call-ins. Yes, I will put that up. Okay, fine. I'll put up the call-in line real quick. We got 500 people in the room. We've got a little bit of time left. And then I got to finish that Rodgers story. So I will take just a handful of callers here. I'm going to be putting that up on the line. All right, let's see here. Okay. I am putting that in now. So I'll take a few calls. Video call in line. Click here. There we are. All right, that is now in there. That is the pinned comment. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, you have to jump over to youtube.com/BoydGreen25 is the pinned highlighted comment. If you'd like to call into the show, I will take a few calls before we wrap up. Let me go through the rest of these questions as we're waiting here. Michael Murphy. Hey, by any chance did anyone snag up Jets draft party tickets? I wonder if they released them or just have. Still holding out hope. I believe they sold out already, Michael, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of a shout out there to potentially catch up on that. So the tickets were already released and sold out, Michael Murphy on YouTube. So hopefully you guys can find that. So sorry about that, Michael. All right, let's go to the call-in line. Let's go to our buddy who's wearing what I believe is going to be the retro logo becoming the primary logo for the New York Jets here in a handful of days. Let's bring in Ricky in New York joining us. What's up, Ricky?
Hey, how's it going, Paul? You know what? I want to address something, and I haven't actually I've only got to see one of your mocks, but I watch all kinds of different content and watch, all the different Jet stuff I can get my hands on. I keep seeing all these different mocks, and the people will, do their monologue at the beginning and reference how it's an all-in year and we got to win now. But then after the first round is over, they act like they're bargain shopping, and it's like, oh, we can get one of those later. And it's like, wait a minute, didn't you just say it was all in? And so I wanted to address a topic. We do still need an RB2. Douglas has drafted one every year, but when it comes to backups for critical positions, like taking half measures is what got us into trouble with the backup quarterback position last year. Okay. I don't want a guy who's, just a thumper or just a pass catcher that could complement Brees. I want a guy, we've had to go without Brees once before already. I want a guy that could step in and be an every down workhorse back, a guy that's a weapon. And that's why, I keep saying on these shows, like, if for some reason Trey Benson is there at 72, we should run to take him. Like I was actually watching some highlights last night where he took like a little dump off and he like breaks an arm tackle and bounces off a guy. It's like an 87-yard touchdown on like a 2-yard pass. And I'm like, you know what? That's what we need. We need a guy that's like a true weapon. So that way, if we were without Brees, we've got someone that can fill the role and get it done. But even with Brees, with the two of them, nobody's going to want to face that. That would just be nasty. And so that's all I want to say. If we're going to be all in, let's be all in. Let's not take half steps. Let's get the best guy at his position at a place of value.
Yeah, I think that's really it, to be honest with you. Outside of offensive line, which I guess you can kind of dance the line of it being both for now and for later, kind of from a depth perspective, I think you're right. The wide receiver, now. The running back, now. I'm trying to think of other positions. Outside of that, even on defense, all those are going to be future picks. If you're covering your ass on DJ Reed, Michael Carter II, that cornerback probably isn't getting much PT this year. Safety, I guess, is the only other one that might be more immediate. But yes, I agree with you. Strike while the iron's hot. There's been a lot of these kind of mock drafts that it is these, quarterbacks early or other positions that, boy, in 3 years, we're going to be set. But this is an all-in year where you do need to go for the jugular to maximize this window. And that is what's compelling me, quite frankly, to push all the chips. I don't care, relatively speaking, that's Joe Douglas's job. I don't care about 2025, 2026. I don't care about who's a quarterback after Rodgers. Like right now, what puts us in the best position to kick as much ass as possible this year and win a bunch of games. That's basically it.
Right on. And like you were saying, Rodgers seemed like he was falling out of love with football in Green Bay because they never took a receiver in the first round in all the years he was there, and it pissed him off. And the guy just gave back $35 million, and we're on the fence whether or not to take a receiver in the first. I'm going to go out on a limb and say taking a receiver in the first would probably be a pretty good move to keep him happy.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be a wonderful, again, it would have been nice if it ended up happening last year, as a lot of us wanted in a lot of ways with that 15th pick. But it'd be a nice little, welcome back present. Hey, I know the Packers didn't do, your ex-girlfriend didn't do this for you, but we will. Boom. Get him to the point that someone else mentioned earlier. You get him a receiver at, we're picking 10th. You get a receiver at 10, and then you have Garrett Wilson, former number 10 overall pick. Mike Williams was a top 10 pick. You get 3 top 10 pick wide receivers, and your ex-girlfriend, the Packers, never got you one first-round receiver, let alone a top 10 pick. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah.
Right. That's what I'm looking at, just as many weapons as possible because, I don't want to play in close games. I want to blow people out.
Yes, I agree. I like you going for the jugular, Ricky, and you can keep pounding the Trey Benson train. I respect it.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, you too. You have a good one, Ricky. Thanks for calling in. So yeah, that is it for the Jets. It is a fine line. Joe Douglas has to balance the now with the future at the same time. So it's a complicated dance, especially when his ass is on the line. Because if they don't win now, his future picks are going to be helping out the next GM, not him. That's, of course, something you have to figure out as well. All right, we'll take one more caller here on the show before we sign off, because like I said, I got to finish that Rodgers story. We'll get that up shortly on the Heavy on Jets page. You guys can check that out after the show to see more, or we'll take a caller or two to see more on that. So we'll take a few more here, and then we will sign off to finish that Rodgers story. But let's make it happen. Let's go to Johnny with the shades on.
Hey, what's going on, Boy Green?
What's up, Johnny?
Living the dream. Hey, man, that interview was off the wall. Some mind-altering conversations that were there, which is what I like about Aaron Rodgers, man. He is not your usual quarterback that's going to talk about, rah this and rah that. Nah, he speaks about real stuff that he's doing and how to better himself and
Mhm.
bettering other people. Dude, if people hear that stuff like that, right, that are going through things and whatnot, it's just giving you that extra, like, okay, if he could do it, I could do it type of thing, right?
Right.
I mean, if anybody's out there that has not seen it, they should watch it. It's a really, really intriguing interview, needless to say. Just go
Yeah.
into it with an open mind, because it starts off insane. So, like,
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain to someone who hasn't seen it, but yes, again, it's 2.5 hours. It's a long interview, but boy, if you get into it, you like get into the weeds. Oh wow, you're just hearing his take on a lot of different stuff. Which, like I said, like you, Johnny, I'm fascinated because I don't normally, outside of Jets football, I'm not listening to people sharing their opinions on a variety of topics in that way. I'm normally not hearing that sort of stuff. So yeah, it is. It's refreshing. It's very interesting, and yeah, open mind is key heading into these conversations. But wow, it was. You learn a lot. You're like, wow, okay.
and the other biggest thing is that, you know, it to me at least, right,
Hmm.
that we've never seen a Hall of Fame quarterback, right, speak like this, or
Hmm.
just be so open to us to kind of really dig deep into his mind and whatnot, right? Like, I mean, we've had Hall of Famers that have kind of talked, right, but it's been always after. Peyton Manning, for example, during his career, we had no idea. Drew Brees, I mean, we just could keep going on and on. Tom
Yes,
Brady,
right.
all these guys were so private. But anyways, the reasoning I was calling in, because
Yeah.
I liked what Ricky was saying, right, with the whole
Hmm.
all-in play and all that. Now, I don't believe that we should get a running back, right? This is just my opinion,
Sure, sure. Hmm.
because I feel like, and I think there's running backs that are proven, that are out there, that if you put them next to a Brees Hall,
Hmm.
right, he's gonna excel. You got your Kareem Hunt, that I can't figure out why he's still out there. It's
Me
insane,
either.
right?
Puzzling.
Um, and he's proven. And the other thing is, he hasn't been beat up like that. So, like, he'll last, and he's
Hmm.
somebody, if you have Brees Hall, knock on wood, doesn't happen, because at the end of the day, we really are not going to be seeing your RB2s and RB3s like that at all. Because, I mean, Brees is like, no, I'm here. Give me the ball. Let me do my thing. I got this, right? But he could take over the rock if need be. And plus, we still got Izzy.
Right.
Everybody was very high on Izzy for a long time and
Hmm.
everything. And then look what happened. I mean, our whole line was trash. And you're putting a freaking rookie, right,
Yeah.
running back into here, and expecting this guy to be like Brees Hall, which
Hmm.
he's not,
Right.
right? So, I mean, that's my take. If we really want to be in an all-in move, and
Hmm.
it's these talks that we've talked about, we trade up and we try to pick out Marvin Harrison. And if we want to
Yes.
give up next year's one or whatever, right, to be able to do that, that's an all-in play for me, at least, right? I mean,
Hmm.
if I'm really big on Roman Dunze,
Yeah.
right? I like his work ethic. He has those character traits that JD loves. He's a kid that was raised on a farm,
Hmm.
knows about hard work, had the issues, I believe, with his father who went blind or something like that. So how to take care of him
Mm.
growing up, right? And still playing sports. That dude's literally going to go ahead and take his jersey off and put it over a puddle so you don't get your shoes wet, type of thing, right? And I
Yeah.
mean, those are the type of character players that at least I would want.
Yeah.
But then I'm also in the whole trade back scenario and pick up our young lad, right? And then pick up another receiver in the second, But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I do like Trey Benson, so I don't want to say that I don't like him. I mean, Ricky is right. That dude's a monster. He's a
Oh
beast.
yeah.
He'll be really, really good. But again, I feel like that could go towards every other hole that we have. You know what I mean? So that's just my take on it. I have to get into work real quick. So
Yeah.
appreciate you, boy Green. Do your thing, bro. Peace.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks for calling in, man. Johnny's everywhere. I saw he was on last night with the Jet situation report. Man, he's everywhere. He finds a way. I respect the hell out of it. All right, a couple callers here, so I'll get to all of you. All right, NY Jets FL. Let's go over to this guy here on the show. What's up, brother?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Johnny's internet went away, and Orange Buck jersey went away with the eclipse, I think. So he basically, got rid of two for one on that one.
That's right. Yeah. BOGO special.
Hey, Paul. You may want to get your father on this one, but hear a lot of rumblings out of Dallas. CD, Mike is not happy.
Yeah.
CD's not happy. What do you think it would take to get CD? You think we can give him next year's one? I mean, the guy had like 130 catches.
Oh, he's a freak. He's one of my favorite receivers in the league, man. He's one of my favorites. It would take, I would have to imagine. And the other thing the Jets have to balance with that is, you have to make sure you have enough in the coffers to pay CD immediately, because that would be a part of that trade. And then Definitely. Garrett. So, it would have to take 10 and, man, would it take 10 in the 2025 first two? Like, it would be an unbelievable, massive package, but worth it, because I think Lamb is a freak. And to get guaranteed Lamb, what he is, versus number 10 overall pick, or even the future picks that would be required. You're like, what are they going to be? Well, you hope they can be half of what Lamb is, so just get Lamb. But it's the money. So, yeah, I'm hearing all the chatter out of Dallas that they may not be able to pay everybody, which is Dak Prescott, of course. It is Micah Parsons, the pass rusher, and it's CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver. Out of the group, oh boy, I would investigate. I'd give them a call, because their definition of all-in seems different than our definition of all-in. So, yeah, I'd ring them up and see what it would take. Yeah, no doubt. Probably 2 first, probably.
You don't think we can get away with keeping our first and giving them futures?
I'm sure we would love to, because obviously the 10 pick helps us now. And then in theory, future picks like the Hassan Reddick thing in like 1,000 years, that doesn't affect us at all this year. We only get better. I'm sure if Dallas were to do it, unless they're completely blowing it up, like getting rid of Dak and everybody and doing some sort of reset, I think they would demand the 10th overall pick as a starting point.
Yeah. I'm willing to do it. I think I'm willing to do that. Depending on our offensive line situation, I guess who's on the board, and could that be a draft night situation?
What's that? Lamb you're talking about?
Trading for CD?
That one, boy, you'd have to have a lot of. I don't think there's enough time to get that banged out on draft. So it'd have to be pre-draft conversations if the right thing's there. And let's say, because again, I think Dallas would demand 10. And then if the right guys are at 10, right? So in theory, of what the Cowboys would do is trading Lamb to get the Lamb replacement. So it'd probably have to be one of the big 3 on the board at 10. So they trade you Lamb. And this is a preconceived conversation. You trade Lamb for 10, they get their guy immediately, and all that works out. Yeah, so, but we saw it before. The A.J. Brown, Eagles-Titans trade, monster contract all came together, but obviously that was a setup conversation, if this and that. And Titans got Treylon Burks, who they thought was the replacement of A.J. Brown, and he hasn't really worked out. But that's it in theory. So it can happen. It's possible, sure.
Wow. Just wanted to throw that out there. I mean, I don't know if we want to. I mean, I guess a rookie would work too, because the salary implications,
right?
The minimum rookie salary, that would work too. It depends, though. I mean, if the big 3 are gone, which I think they will be by 10, I think if we can find a trade down, that would be ideal. So, but you got to think of every scenario if you can.
Of course, right?
And
yeah.
If we are swinging for the fences, Paul, I mean, CD's the kind of guy. They can't sign all 3. Now, who do you get rid of? My friend's a Cowboy fan. He wants to blow the whole thing up this year. He said he'd rather reset, the whole thing up, keep Micah, get rid of Dak, because he said Dak is going to be $60 million, and he doesn't think he's going to get him over the hump. And he wants to keep Micah and CD and trade Dak.
Wow.
I don't know value he'd even have. You may want to ask your dad.
Yeah, we will. I'll bring that up for sure. That'll be the topic of choice for this weekend, I'm sure. I think I read a piece this morning that the one that would be the movable guy is Parsons. I think I think that might have been Mike Fleur this morning. I think that's the one I saw and reacted to, but I'll have to double check that to see if that was the player they're talking about moving. Because Dak, if you don't move him now, you can't move him because there's no tag next year, and he's just going to walk out the door. So the ones you have control over are Lamb and Parsons. So those would be the tradable assets, and I would imagine pass rusher over wide receiver. Although Tyreek Hill went for a lot, so trades could happen still for wide receivers, but pass rushers. Brian Burns just got moved for a haul, and Parsons is better than Burns, so it would be even more for him. So sure, it'd probably be of the two, Parsons or Lamb. Probably lean towards Parson, but I mean, Cowboys got to make a big boy decision. Oh yeah, my father's immediately responding to this. Leave CD alone. No way. Get lost. Oh yeah, he wants none of this. Oh boy.
But he should be happy for us because it's going to help his second
That's
team,
right.
yes. And help happy for his son. I mean, look
That's
at his
right.
son suffering. He won some championships in the '90s, and
that's true.
We haven't done anything.
Yeah, spread the love, pal. Spread the love. I love it.
I got you, Paul. Thanks. Paul. That's all
Thanks,
I got
buddy.
for today.
I appreciate it. Thanks, pal. All right, we got one more caller we're going to squeeze in here. We got a Yankees fan joining us who are tied for their best start of all time. So let's bring in Bobby on the show. What's up, Bobby?
Well, I talked to you before.
Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Imagine if you could pick up CD Lamb. Just go for it. Go for it. Throw in all the chips, right, for this year because you want to go to the Super Bowl. You have Wilson, right?
Yeah.
Then you have Williams, and then you have CD Lamb. Look at Aaron Rodgers get to throw to. Imagine that.
Yeah, that'd be phenomenal. That's the best
I
never
heard of that. That's the first time I ever heard of CD Lamb talk. That's the first thing I heard. Wow,
yeah, we could get surprises all the time. Yeah, could happen.
For that. I would go for that. But you also need offensive lineman. What about Joe Alt? You like him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I wanted Zach Martin for the Giants when Zach Martin came out of Notre Dame, but we never got him. We got, I don't know, I forgot who we got in that trade, but the draft. I'm not too happy about it, but I wanted him. Yeah. And I want Joe Alt, but I think he might be going to the Jets.
Yeah. Hey, that'd be great. I'd love it if that could happen. Yeah, sign me up. But we'll see. Yeah, you said you're a Giants guy, right, Bobby?
Yeah, I'm a Giant fan, but I cheer for the Jets. I call in all the shows. The Jets, they think I'm crazy because I call in all the Jets shows. Guess who I got to talk to yesterday, though?
Who's
on
that?
His show, Howard Cross?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to talk to him on his show yesterday.
Oh, wow.
I was so happy. Yeah.
Okay.
He was a nice guy. You're from New York originally, right?
No. I've been in New York the last 16 years, so I've been here a long time. But no, I was a Navy brat, so I was moving all over the place. So South Carolina, Georgia, all over the place. Oh,
you're in the South. Oh. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But no, imagine if the Jets could get a way to get that receiver. Oh, my God, you'd be set.
Sign me up, baby. Sign me up.
Congratulations. I didn't know. That was a good call. Like, I don't know who called in before, but he was good.
Yeah.
So when are you on next time?
When am I on? Oh, I'm on every morning at 7:30 in the morning.
Okay, I'll call next time.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, Bobby, and good luck to your Yankees.
Yeah, bye now. You too.
All right, see ya. Okay, Bobby. Okay, joining us here on the show. Love it. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for calling in. Thanks for all the callers, Johnny and NY Jets FL and Ricky and everybody else. Bobby, all you guys. Thanks for calling in. Over 500 people in the room. Make sure you guys contribute in the free way right now. Like the video, hit subscribe, whether you're watching live or after the fact. It all makes a tremendous difference. Our YouTube channel is blowing the hell up, and the arrow's pointing up. Up with all your guys' support. And if you guys want to take the next step, again, you could join the Boy Green Super Fan Club. Feel free to do so. That little money sign, if you're watching on YouTube, you could join the group for a small fee every month to help support the show. You guys can also contribute in that way. I will be back coming up tomorrow for Boy Green Daily. We're going to have a very special guest actually joining us. I will tease that later. We got a fun guest joining us to talk some Jets draft. Looking forward to that. Plus, we're going to have Woody. And plus, I'm telling you guys, I got a big guest, massive guest coming up. That's all I can say. And I'm not just talking about the one tomorrow. I'm talking about there's another guest that's not on Boy Green Daily tomorrow. It's not Woody. It's another big-time guest. That's all I can say. You guys can try to guess who that person is. but a massive guest. And there he goes, Bobby Booyah, with the buzzer beater, becoming a member of the Boy Green Superfan Club. Welcome to the show, Bobby. Boy Green Superfan Club member. Appreciate you, brother. And thank you for calling in, and thanks for hopping on the show, Bobby. Beautiful. Feel free. You guys can do that as well. Get the Boy Green Superfan Club as well. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow morning live at 7:30. Take care.